Samaje back here with another video. Today we're about to be watching 10 horrific true crimes that shock millennials. I don't know, I'm pretty much a fan of a lot of stuff, as you can see behind this channel. I'm a huge true crime buff fan. I got into true crime probably around 17 or 18. I didn't used to like it because my sister used to always watch those a lot and I used to hate it. But for some reason, growing up, you get into a lot of more stuff and you make that a hobby. But now I kind of talk about it with her a lot. So you kind of find some more stuff to talk about with when you become more of an adult.
And today we're looking at the most notorious scandals and incidents that millennials have lived to see. The murder of Gianni Versace. The fashion world was stunned when this renowned designer was shot on the steps of his Miami Beach mansion. His assailant, 27-year-old Andrew Cunanan, was already infamous for a cross-country killing spree that left 4 others dead. Cunanan approached Versace as he returned from a morning walk, shooting him in the head with a .40 caliber handgun before fleeing the scene. The murder captivated millennials, dominating headlines while the nationwide manhunt that had begun with his earlier crimes continued. 8 days later, Cunanan was found dead on a houseboat, having taken his own life. Fast forward decades later, and the world still has numerous unanswered questions as to Cunanan's motives.
See, oh man, I never knew the true reason of why Versace. I never knew the whole story behind this. I thought it just came from some other guy or whatever, but I never knew the whole story about Gianni Versace and how this was just a horrific case until I just dove into some of the research for that, and I really didn't know what he did for the fashion industry. And it's so horrible that people literally just murder people and then they just go off theyself and you just never know the true reason behind it.
The disappearance of Madeleine McCann.
Well, police have just temporarily broken off their search. They've been searching all morning and, as you said, last night, as have staff and guests. For now, they have nothing to report. Obviously, everyone here is extremely concerned.
This infamous case may be described as one of the most gripping and frustrating in recent history. The young British girl vanished while on vacation with her family in Praia da Luz, Portugal in 2007. Despite years of heavy investigation by professionals around the world, we're no closer now than we were then to finding out what happened to her.
You must just feel so helpless.
Suddenly a lot of doors began to close. The UK government and the authorities kind of withdrew, and there was obviously doubt, amongst sectors of the general public.
Some believe she was kidnapped or killed by a stranger. Others are suspicious of her parents, Kate and Jerry, who left their kids alone at night to go eat tapas. In any event, Madeleine McCann is a name that virtually any millennial would recognize.
I'm really sorry. That's just bad parenting. I'm sorry that you lost your daughter and everything, but that's just bad parenting. You leave your you leave your whole kids alone while you go somewhere and eat something. Take them with you. I'm pretty sure it shocked a lot of people, and that made them hold they kids closer to them and take them everywhere they go. Especially when you're on vacation, why would you leave your kids there? I don't want to I hate to scold people like that because it just adds on to their trauma, but this was a really stupid move, and I feel sad for her that she's potentially probably gone or something.
The killing of Heyman Lee.
They feel that the process was not fair to them, fundamentally unfair. And what they're asking for is what the law requires, which is a fair process.
In 1999, Lee, an 18-year-old high school student, was found strangled in a grave in Baltimore, Maryland. Her ex-boyfriend, Adnan Syed, was soon arrested, convicted of her murder, and sentenced to life in prison. However, the case gained new life in 2014 when the hit podcast Serial examined the investigation, trial, and evidence used against Syed. Millions of millennials became obsessed with his involvement, or lack thereof, in Lee's fate. In 2022, after years of legal battles, Syed's conviction was overturned, only to be subsequently reinstated. The case remains controversial, with many still questioning whether justice was truly served.
This morning, the ongoing fight for freedom after 23 years behind bars.
The Unabomber's reign of terror.
There's been almost as much money spent on the Unabomber investigation as all serial murderers put together.
For nearly 2 decades, the United States was terrorized by a mysterious serial bomber known as the Unabomber. Ted Kaczynski, a former assistant mathematics professor turned recluse, carried out an American-wide mail bombing campaign, targeting universities, airlines, and
Nigga, 20 years this nigga did that? Bro, I remember this because this case is just always famous within everything. I don't know. Well, I feel like always that I'm a part of like millennials too in some way because I had half millennial stuff that's like in me, and then half of Gen Z crap that's in me. I guess I'm considered Gen Z because I'm 24, I guess.
Individuals he saw as symbols of technological destruction. His homemade explosives killed 3 people and injured 23 others. The story gripped the nation, with investigators struggling to track him down until the Washington Post published his 35,000-word manifesto at the FBI's urging. In a shocking twist, Kaczynski's own brother recognized his writing and turned him in.
But 2 phrases in the manifesto jump out at David. Cool-headed logician and you can't eat your cake and have it too. Phrases his brother often used.
Arrested in 1996, the Unabomber's legacy of fear still lingers, especially for millennials who grew up hearing his name.
The Washington Post had published a special section containing the 35,000-word manifesto of the serial mail bomber known as Unabomb.
The murder of Laci Peterson.
That's crazy. If you recognize your own siblings' handwriting and then you have like the unfortunate shock in like news to like tell the police that like my brother has did this and blown up a lot of stuff and caused so much families pain and suffering, and just that's just so much to deal with on his conscience. I feel bad that he had to even do that.
I think for many people they thought he didn't look like he was grieving. He never looked as though he was upset.
On Christmas Eve in 2002, 27-year-old Laci Peterson, who was almost 8 months pregnant, vanished from her Modesto, California home. As the search for her intensified, suspicion quickly fell on her husband, Scott Peterson, whose calm demeanor and statements raised red flags.
Scott Peterson denied interview requests.
You told me you'd lost your wife and this was the first holidays you'd spend without her?
I keep hearing Laci say to me, "Mom, please find me and Connor and bring us home."
The case took a shocking turn when it was revealed that Scott had been having an affair with a woman who claimed he told her his wife was already dead. In April 2003, Laci's remains and those of her unborn son washed ashore in San Francisco Bay, and Scott was arrested shortly after. His trial became a media spectacle, and he was convicted of first-degree murder in 2004. The Long Island serial killer.
Bro, I honestly think like people should just break everything off with a significant other. It's really just saddens me every time that I see something they kill their significant other because they don't want to be with them no more. Well, just divorce them. I know it's gonna be hard going through a divorce and everything, but I would rather do that than just like ending someone's life or even getting somebody else to do it. Well, so whatever. But like doing that is just like so like weird, and you just don't have like no respect or no like emotion, toward like somebody else's life.
Maureen and 3 others were found first and dubbed the Gilgo 4, discarded in a similar fashion, roughly 500 feet apart.
The culprit behind the Gilgo Beach serial killings remains a chilling mystery. In 2010, police searching for a missing woman in New York discovered multiple sets of human remains. Over time, at least 11 victims, mostly petite women involved in sex work, were linked to the case. In 2023, authorities finally arrested Rex Heuermann, an architect with a seemingly normal life, but many questions have yet to be answered. Millennials continue to follow the story through documentaries, podcasts, and Reddit discussions.
I'm standing here with my law enforcement partners in the Gilgo Task Force to announce the indictment of defendant Rex Andrew Heuermann, 59 years of age.
The Boston Marathon incident.
How did he become?
Man, I never heard of that case. I gotta follow that because that's so fucking sad.
Person who allowed himself to do this terrible
It is now
act.
up to a federal jury to decide the appropriate punishment for Boston Marathon bomber.
They would have to vote on whether or not he should get the death penalty.
In 2013, tragedy struck the Boston Marathon when 2 bombs exploded near the finish line, killing 3 people and injuring nearly 300 others. Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev had planted pressure cooker bombs in backpacks, turning a day of celebration into chaos.
Only 2 days had passed. Now they were looking for every image of the suspect they called White Hat. Massachusetts State Police analysts found him with a man in a black hat.
After a shootout with police, Tamerlan was killed while Dzhokhar was captured and later sentenced to death. The bombing left a lasting scar in the U.S. Jean-Benet Ramsey case.
I immediately ran back upstairs and pushed open her door, and she was not in her bed.
On December 26, 1996, a young beauty queen was found murdered in her family's Boulder, Colorado home. Her mother, Patsy, discovered a ransom note demanding $118,000, almost the exact amount of her husband John's recent bonus. Jean Benet's body was located in the basement. She had suffered a skull fracture, been strangled, and may have been sexually assaulted. The case garnered massive media attention, with initial suspicion falling on Jean Benet's parents and brother, Burke. However, DNA evidence later cleared them of involvement. The crime remains unsolved, haunting those who grew up seeing it unfold in the media and fueling endless online speculation.
They talk about how they were so upset and all the pain, but like, you don't see any of it in their face at all.
The Columbine High School tragedy.
Honestly, that must be like kind of like if they didn't do that, and like it's just like if they truthful people, it must suck that like people are just like blaming you for your own like daughter's death and everything, and it must sucks that like for the kid, I mean for the brother, he's getting blamed for his own sister's death. But like that is kind of weird that they didn't have no emotion on their face if it's true.
On April 20th, 1999, the world watched in horror as two heavily armed students, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, carried out a brutal massacre at their high school in Littleton, Colorado. The teens murdered 12 students and a teacher before taking their own lives, leaving behind a nation grappling with the shocking reality of school shootings.
And I looked up at Dylan and I said, "Hey, Dylan," and he said,